Welcome to Author Mastery Insights. I am with none other than the Dr. Noel Lloyd. Welcome, Dr. Noel. It's incredible to have you here.
Marcus, thank you so much. I've been looking forward to this.
I'm looking forward to this because, oh my gosh, every time I speak with you, we get to see your insight and your wisdom. And we're going to talk about, I think, what is such an important topic, business and growing your business and creating a successful business. And you have got the blueprint for that. And for those not familiar with the incredible work that Dr. Noel does, well, firstly, he decided to become a chiropractor at the tender age of 11 with his father's help. And then after graduating from Palmer College in 1971, it seems like such a short time ago though, he started Sound Chiropractic Centers in Western Washington, where he built and sold 10 clinics to his associates. He now heads up 5-star management and the new patient academy, helping doctors develop strong win-win associateships and new patient acquisition. But in addition to coaching thousands of DCs to massive practice growth, sustainable practice operations, and a more fulfilling life, he's the author of what I consider one of the great business chiropractic books, The Chiropractor's Guide, 56 Proven Ways to Help More People Have More Fun and Make More Money. It's a rock star book, I have to say, Dr. Noel. So I'm so excited to talk about this book, to talk about your inspiration of this book and the way that this has impacted so many lives. So are you ready to jump into this conversation?
I'm ready. I'm eager.
All right. I've read this. My associate has read this. We talk about these principles all of the time. But from your perspective, tell me a little about this book.
Well, for decades, I have been writing for the chiropractic trade publications, Chiropractic Journal, Dynamic Chiropractic, and others. And I had written just shy of 100 articles. By one count, it was 103, but I think it was really 97. My wife, who is a published author, said, Noel, you've already written your book. And why don't you get an editor and put all of your articles together? And that's what I did, and that's what became my book. And I was thinking about this question, but I think it's the content. And when you write for trade publications, one of the things that they ask for is, I want to have some very, very useful content. I want to have something that is very, very catchy, where people jump right in and dive right in. And so I always wrote basically on one of three subjects: help people have fun or be a successful business person. And under help people, we could have marketing and care plans and all kinds of different things you do in the chiropractic practice. And under the topic of having fun, we could talk about working together as a team and, and the headspace. I've told people that I have a very classy coworker. I get to work with the intelligence that built the universe, right? And as far as business is concerned, the business is what supports the practice and allows you to do the work of a chiropractor. So anyway, that's a whole lot, I guess, on the background of the book.
You said there that, when you write an article or otherwise, you need to add value. And I want to talk about that because let's talk about value giving as a principle. This book is packed full of content. Real content. Oftentimes when you read books or people provide articles or even listening to podcasters, the authors, the speakers, they hold back, hoping to give enough to inspire, but not enough for them to take action without the author leading them or the speaker, working with them to make a change. But this book was different. I firstly listened to this as an audiobook, and I had to go, and after I listened to it as an audiobook, buy the physical copy and sit there and study it and then implement and apply it. And it had so much tangible value, so much actionable quality, that it just blew me away about the generosity you have in the writing process. So I'd love for you to talk about that, because a lot of people will have the opinion that, and they get coached when they write. Just inspire them to connect with you. Don't give them enough to take action, because otherwise, by giving away your best quality up front, they might not work with you. What's your philosophy around this, and how have you found being so giving and so generous work for you?
When I would write my articles, what would invariably happen is that people would get in touch with me and say, I love the way you think. I think that way myself. I was able to put together pieces that you described, and I found out that what you did actually worked. And so I'd write another article. And what I would try to do is I'd try to frame a problem, frame a solution, and then take people through the examples of step by step, um, putting together a new and different approach, and then also give some examples of people who have done that and the success that they've had, and plus my own personal success. And I would so much rather do that. Now, I know that there are people out there that coach people on how to write their books. And you're right. They coach them to just inspire, to create the connection. But I've never liked being teased. And so I don't like the tease approach. And each article that I wrote, every single article I wrote, each editor said, let's give somebody something that they can work with. And so when I went over the articles before we put the book together, I thought, you know what? I really like this, and I like the way that it organizes, and it organizes under help people have fun, make money. That's what I'd like to do. And I'm betting that a number of people will get in touch with me, even if I give them great content. And that's exactly what's happened.
What I'm hearing you say is there will be people that don't work with you, even if you give them everything, but there will be people that don't work with you when you don't give them enough. And if you are willing to just give value, the law of reciprocity says at some point you'll be acknowledged and rewarded for your contribution, for your value. You'll impact people beyond what you even know for those who don't reach out after the access to value, but you will also then be able to serve those who say, that's worked for me. Imagine how much more growth I can have, how much more impact will take place if I actually work with the guy, given how much value he's produced. And I think that's testimony to the success that you've had, to the impact that you've had, and the people that work with you and the growth that they've seen. Does that mean that throughout not only your book, but your business philosophy, that you still offer and continue to work with people to bring about change and impact? And that's just a theme and a thread through how you operate your life?
Well, I'm very, very blessed. My practices and my management companies have done so well that I don't have to work with people I don't like. And so if I recruit clients that I really like, and I like their ethics, and I like what they want to do, and I enjoy helping them, then I get to be involved with other chiropractors, and I don't currently practice, and so um, I have I'm able to affect them, and they're able to affect their associates, and those people are seeing hundreds and thousands and tens of thousands of patients worldwide, and it's because of the book. By the way, when somebody calls me and says, I read your book, I know that we're going to have a really good conversation because an author cannot help but reveal who he or she is if they continue to write. I mean, you learn about who they are. And if somebody likes what I write, I'm probably going to like them. And they're going to, and they have a really, really good view as to some of my procedures for marketing and team building and associate development. I mean, you really get a very, very good, clear picture in the book. And if they want to do that, they're halfway recruited to my goal anyway. And it makes just a wonderful client to deal with.
And I think it doesn't matter whether you talk business and chiropractic consultancy or whether you think patients within the practice. If you've written a book and people love your book and they can find value in that book and they come into the practice, they already know your message. They understand your approach and your paradigm. And I've certainly found this as an author. When I wrote my book, The Arthritis Solution, people were coming in saying, I read your book. This is the care I want. This is the outcome I want to receive. Let's begin. And so that opportunity to know who they are through their writing is a very, very important revelation. And I think offers people great insight into the value of writing a book. And, you were already, successful as a chiropractor. You moved, as I said, into that ability to support practitioners grow. what was the role of the book? You'd already been successful, you're already impactful, you'd written all of these articles. What then was the role of the book in being able to expand the influence of you as working with practitioners?
Well, I wanted to have a chance to speak, and I have a chance to speak to you right now because I wrote the book. And so I knew that if I wrote the book, it would be a platform that I could use as an opportunity to reach other prospective clients. And I knew if people read my book and they liked what I said, that they would probably make a really, really good client. Now, as I mentioned, my wife is an author. And so I would go to writers' conferences with her. I met different people who were editors and publishers. And Kate would say, Noel's already written his book. So my wife encouraged me in the most loving, wonderful way. It wasn't nagging, but she kept telling me, because I would read my articles to her and she'd say, boy, those articles are great. And so I, when I put it all together and I got it out to the community and I started to read some of my reviews, and I heard from people like yourself who've been so complimentary about the book, it's um, it just gives me more motivation to make sure that my information gets into the community. I'm 73. I know that I only have a finite time on the planet, and I'm not worried about just piecing out little bits of what I know so that I can get clients. What I want to do is get what I've acquired over a period of decades out into the community. In fact, my biggest fear is that what I have to give won't be shared deeply enough in the chiropractic profession. I don't. I felt like I was kind of rambling there, but that's one of the ways the book has helped me. Oh, and here's another thing that's so fun. My clients buy my books by the case, and they meet chiropractic students. And one of the things that they do as a way of having a conversation about associateships is they give them a copy of my book. Now that's, I think, the biggest compliment I can get is that they believe that it's so attractive that young chiropractors will believe that it's attractive as well. Does that make sense?
That doesn't just make sense. That shows the impact of legacy. It evidences the servant heart of the docs that you work with on how they're going to elevate the associates that come into their business. And that generosity, again, is a reflection of your personal philosophy, which then infuses your business philosophy, which is where success is the inevitable byproduct. I just think that shows so much insight into not just the motivation for writing, but the genuine care for impacting the world that the writing delivers, and why it is so important that we do get our message out there, because it'll change lives in a profound and powerful way. And so you look like you're going to say something in relation to that.
Well, I have I've been blessed. I have been very, very fortunate in practice and in my consulting businesses. And so my main motivation is I'm not chasing a buck. I want to love what I do, um, and I want to love what I do so that I can continue to do it and continue to have a channel through which I can give. Now, do I like the business that I created? I love it. Do I like the process that I've created? Yes. And I think that the business and the process shows up in the book, but also what happens in the book shows up in the way that I do my business.
I'd love for you to take as I said, you wrote articles, you're able to then merge this into a book for chiropractors who want to write, whether it's in business, whether it's in healthcare, whether it's the model of care they deliver. What are your thoughts for how they might be able to start their own writing process if they haven't yet written, to allow them to bring their knowledge, their insight, their wisdom into the pages to influence patients and the community?
Almost every article started with some type of problem, and and then you frame the problem I remember one article that I wrote that became a chapter in the book is that I knew the dirty little secret of the successful, busy chiropractor. And the dirty little secret is that they're working as hard as they possibly can. They're dancing as fast as they can, one doctor told me. Number two, they don't get a fraction of the freedom that they would like in order to enjoy their own success. And if you're at maximum capacity, you're working de facto at a fixed income. So that's the problem. And so the audience for that particular article and that chapter in the book is for the busy, successful chiropractor. Well, what's the solution? I've gotten their attention. What's the solution? The solution is to develop associates inside the win-win model. You're already successful. You know how to be a success. And what the article talks about is how to find the right associate, recruit them to a win-win philosophy, make sure that they're mentored and developed and launched inside. And so I give a solution and usually a first starting point for somebody in my different articles. And so if I wanted to write, if I was going to write another book, and I was thinking about this, I was going to do a special book for the busy, successful chiropractor who wants to replicate his or her success in another doctor, then I would focus on what the problem is, on the solution, and then take it apart piece by piece. And I love to give examples too. You notice probably in your new patient orientation class, you can be talking to patients about what chiropractic's all about. But as soon as you talk about that little baby that was a failure to thrive, foster hospice that was going to die, getting their first chiropractic adjustment, you can hear a pin drop because people love stories. And so I like to also offer stories about my clients who implemented the different procedures that we suggest and then their success. So that way, I believe that the reader can see themselves in that position. This is my problem, and if I do this, this will be my story. So I don't know, but that's the way that I did it.
It's beautiful. And can I just say, write that book. It's needed. It's going to be so valuable to the chiropractors who are impactful and want to be able to scale and impact at a higher level. So I implore you, your writing is elegant, it is succinct, and it is powerful. And to expand the message, to impact further, our profession needs it. So please go ahead and do that.
Thank you. Can I tell you something? You mentioned that you had listened to the audiobook. I had wanted to make an audiobook. I don't know, but I might have been the first or the second chiropractic book to be an audiobook. So I contacted a studio here. I just had the worst time. I'm not a particularly good reader, and even reading my own book. And then this studio had a bunch of interns, and there was a glass, and the engineer and all the interns were looking at me, and as soon as I would stumble over a word, I would get more self-conscious. So what I had to do was that I just had to work past that. And my first session, I remember driving away from my first recording session thinking this was a terrible idea. But I thought, no, I want to have the book available. In fact, I'm planning right now to put the book in the Kindle version and in the Audible version on sale. And I'll do that shortly so that people can have the information for. I think I've been able to secure permission to do a 99-cent price on it. But I kept going back, and I asked the engineer. I said, "So, give me some tips." So I learned another skill about how to put a book in the Audible. But there was a lot of editing in the process. But you know what? I thought it was worth it to be able to. I've listened to other people's books, and I was so grateful that me, not being a great writer, could be able to listen to somebody else's book. And so I hope, in fact, Marcus, you let me know that the Audible portion of the book had an impact on you and made you buy the paper copy.
Right. And I really love that story because there will be a lot of people that say, look, I'm not a writer or I can't speak. And I appreciate your vulnerability there, saying that that was hard, that was difficult, and it certainly wasn't comfortable. And by the way, I needed professional people to come in and help me. I needed people to edit it so it sounded better. The end product, absolutely brilliant. If you haven't got and I know a lot of chiropractors, and my associate included, Dr. Cindy, she's listened to it on Audible as well. And because she doesn't read as many books, Dr. Cindy, if you listen to this, read more books. She likes the audio book process. And there are so many doctors that prefer while they're driving to and from practice to listen to the audiobook. You made that accessible, and you would have never known because it was so polished. It was such a great, presentation. You'd have never known that it wasn't something that was effortless for you, which is why we as practitioners have to accept that we don't have to be perfect in order to get something that produces a great impact.
No.
I love that story. I appreciate that openness. And to finish up, I think that leads to a great question. For the chiropractors out there who want to write a book or want to do an audio book, who might say, well, I'm not a writer, I'm not a speaker, I couldn't do what Dr. Noel has done. I certainly can't do, this getting up on the stage business. I have my doubts, my fears, my uncertainty, my insecurities. I'm not the person to be out there. What's your message to them, given that you just said, hey, I wasn't perfect when I still produced a great product? How do they overcome those doubts, those inner stories to produce the greatness that is inherent within them?
Well, I think you have to think about your audience and what is my book, what is my chapter, what is my section going to do for them? Because now I self-published, um, and um, and I haven't made a lot of money, with my writing, but I've been able to get my information out. Also, you think about the audience, and then you just write. And you could submit articles to different trade publications and uh, and post your articles. My wife, who has gone more of a conventional route in order to be a best-selling author in her genre, katelloyd.com, she was in a writing group, and she would have other people read her copy that she would write, and she would get feedback. Um, I think that the chiropractic profession, I would imagine that trade journals and different websites are looking for short articles so you can start to hone your craft that way. I've talked to other people that have done their books, and I've read some, and I've given some feedback. But you just have to write. You just have to do it. So many people say, "I've got a book in me," or "I'm going to write a book," and then they get stuck and they don't move forward. Now, I, I, I don't know who people would go to, but there are people out there that if you have a book and you've got some money, they will help you get your book out of you and into a self-published condition. And so, I mean, that's another way, and it's their job to encourage you. Now, they do that for money, a good amount of money, but just write.
That's it. So think, and look, everyone, there's the book. Grab your copy, grab it on audiobook. If you happen to get it during the wonderful gift period, boom, incredible value. I love it, Dr. Noel. I love the book. I appreciate you so much for all that you have done. You've served so powerfully and profoundly the chiropractic profession. I'm looking forward to the follow-up, to the next book, and you continue to serve chiropractic and by extension of that humanity. Appreciate you, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the time.